Vancouver Island mother has been slapped with a Section 177 exclusion order by the Nanaimo Ladysmith Public School District, banning her from setting foot on her own child's school grounds until June next year. Her thought crime? Raising public concerns on her personal Facebook account after spotting a staff member greeting kids on the first day of school while proudly wearing what's become the highly divisive Pride Progress flag. A political symbol she found especially inappropriate to flaunt just days after a trans killer slaughtered praying children at a Catholic school in Minneapolis. A killer whose sick manifesto planning to do so featured that very same symbol. Mosley 2018, McKenney 2020, Aldrich 2022, Hale 2023, and recently Robert Westman at the Annunciation Catholic Church 2025. All mass shooting monsters, all trans or non-binary. And while some mainstream media are more concerned about whether or not the media is getting these killers' pronouns right, others aren't afraid to point out the disproportionate number of deranged killers emerging from a community that makes up less than 1% of the U.S. population, and whether or not the left's narrative that those who don't affirm dysphoria or child transitioning oppose such due to hate is in fact fueling actual hate. I'm Drea Humphrey with Rebel News, and Miss Bryony Dixon, the mother who can't go near her child's school, joins me now to share why she felt the need to make that post and refuses to take it down.
So I dropped my son at school for his first day, and obviously the week before there had been this mass shooting of children at a school, and the shooter had a Progress Pride flag in the front page of their manifesto. And I'm aware that this is not the only school shooting to have that kind of political messaging behind it. So I saw the symbol on a shirt of a educator at my child's school, standing in the middle of a public field where all the parents and children could see it, and I thought that this was, disturbing to me as a parent that the same kind of ideology behind that flag is shared by people in the school, which I'm obviously aware of, but I don't feel comfortable with this politicization of my child's education, especially when it's leading to kind of this grievance culture, which is leading to, violence, real world violence, not just words. As targeting children. And I also felt that maybe there would be some children in that school who might be aware of what had happened and might have, be Christians or something like that, that are aware of why that particular school had been targeted as well, and how scared they might be seeing symbols like that around them in their school. So there's several reasons that I thought it needed calling out. I think it's manifesting in real world violence, and it seems that children are being targeted not only because of the shooting, but also for the medicalization that's happening in the name of that idea also.
Well, it's definitely a political symbol. I think it's safe to say that at this point, whether before it was the progress flag, it started off as something else. It's definitely morphed into something else. We've even seen our previous education minister, Grace Lore, wearing the flag with knives on it on the symbol. It's the message that we're seeing more commonly, and perhaps that is contributing to the disproportionate amount of trans and non-binary mass shooters we're seeing. But let's talk about, they asked you to take the post down and you said no, and then you get this letter basically saying you're the one who's the violent one. You're the one who's putting this individual whose face wasn't clear, who you didn't name, at risk. How did you feel when the script was flipped like that?
Well, obviously, I think that's nonsense. I had the original letter they sent me was to direct me to remove the Facebook post, which obviously I declined to do. And then this flipping of script is interesting because my comment had been about the shirt the symbol on the shirt. I'm not even sure who the individual teacher is, and yet the letters that the district seem to be sending me themselves, so those letters seem to be identifying this teacher as a certain teacher at my child's school. Like my post didn't say the school, didn't name the school, didn't name the teacher, and I'm not even sure who this individual is. So when they started saying I need to remove it because of discrimination against gender identity and the BC Human Rights Code, I'm like, I don't know. This person looks like a male to me. I didn't even know that they might have a non-conventional gender identity or anything like that.
Mhm.
So I feel like the school has actually put this person at risk by associating them, suggesting that it's a certain individual that I'm talking about, when really the shirt itself is has NDTA written across it, which is the Nanaimo District Teachers Association. It's a union, so of course all
Mm.
the teachers probably have that shirt. It could have been any teacher, and yet they're trying to suggest that my comment is inciting violence against a particular individual and also contravening the BC Human Rights Code, which of course I was not doing because I'm talking about the symbol, not the person.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And so, what does this mean to you as a parent then? Your child is young, in this case. So, how are you able to be a functioning parent when you can't even go to your child's school?
Well, I can't be involved in my child's education apparently because of my views, and my fundamental right to be able to express those views, and disagree with the direction that school's going. So, yeah, I just don't want political ideologies pushed on my kids. I don't think that's a big deal. Where I come from, kids still wear school uniforms. The fact that there is any political messaging in schools here has always been a bit shocking to me with all these various days that they get the kids to dress up and wear shirts and whatever. And I've always felt a little bit uncomfortable. And now it's being just become ratcheting up. These children are they're change makers, they're not being educated, they're being turned into revolutionaries. And so, I've kind of lost train of what your question was, but I don't know how I'm going to. I didn't take my kids to school this morning, and I emailed the principal to say that you will need to register him for homeschool, and there best not be any discrimination against my son for the resources that we might be able to borrow from the school in order to him to learn at home. But I knew I was uncomfortable with how the schools here have been for some time. So I have been trying to rearrange my life, and it's taken 2 years to be in a position where I feel like I can actually have him at home anyway. So, it's still I'd rather him be able to be in public school and not be exposed to these kinds of radical ideas and just be taught how to think for himself instead of following the dogma of whichever teacher he's got for the year. So, but if that means I have to take him out of school, that's the only thing. I just don't feel in my gut that it's right to send my child into a building that I am not allowed in. That just seems on a very instinctive level to be completely wrong and unsafe for my kid. And what's he going to be exposed to that they want to keep me out of, shutting parents out of this, right? This is why it's very alarming. And I actually have lots of local people, interesting, particularly Indigenous people, because it's this school and parent dividing and cutting us off. And it's starting, I feel like there's lots of people that are upset about this.
And again, you didn't stand with a poster saying this message on the school grounds. This was
Yeah.
your personal Facebook account. You talk
Mhm.
about education. You yourself worked in the university system. What do you say, considering, that's where these educators are coming from? You talked about the unions that, of course, are propping up this political agenda as well. What have you seen over the years from your experience working in that system and trickling down into, for example, your son's school?
Yeah, well, obviously it does start in the education departments at the universities. Um, and there I was working as an administrator in education abroad, so I was around some teaching students a little bit, but not too much. But you can see that that's where it's coming from in terms of even a university has BC provincial propaganda all over the walls for various social engineering projects that they're working on. So I could see it there. And then, of course, these radical teachers are coming out of the school and thinking that they can continue the experiment on my children. And I am not okay with that at all. I also see how the young students coming out through the K through 12 system seem to be needing a lot of hand holding. That seems very surprising to me when they're supposed to be adults. You know, there seems to be this self-perpetuating system of coddling and mind manipulation into certain viewpoints. And I just, yeah, obviously my experience at the university and speaking freely about certain issues, always respectfully, but expressing my opinions has caused me trouble. So I can just see how students that haven't yet found their voice are going to be conditioned to suppress their own opinions, even if it means being placed in unsafe conditions or being scared or having their privacy invaded or anything like that. There's going to be no option for them to speak up for themselves. So that's a parent's role, right? Is then to advocate for my child and just everyone's right to be able to have a education that's free from this indoctrination that seems to be happening right now. Mm-hmm.
You can read the letter in full that was sent to Bryony, including it threatening to call the police on her if she comes on the school grounds at our written report, which is linked in the description box below. And if you appreciate that Rebel News doesn't back down from bringing you the other side of the story, and you want to find more stories like this to see what's happening in our kids' schools, go to our special website called stopclassroomgrooming.com.